On the phone, we have a former Major League Baseball player and manager. He also coached for many years for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Joey Amalfitano. Joey, how did you end up signing with the Giants?
Well, actually, David, I signed out of college. Two outs at that time was Ivo Pusic and Dutch Ruther. They were Giants. I guess I could have signed out of high school, but I really didn't know if to do that. So I went on to Loyola University of Los Angeles, played there, scouted me, and then after 2 years there, I decided I'd try this professional baseball, and I did, and here I am, 61 in it. Did I ever think it was going to last this long? No, I did not. But I've had a wonderful time. I enjoy the game very much. And that's about it. That's how the Giants that was before the draft, David. There was no draft at that time. It was, you were just subject to any club wanted to sign you. And I would have to say that the three teams that came after me were the Giants, White Sox, and the Red Sox kind of heavily. And so I chose the Giants because of the scouts. I liked them. I felt comfortable with them. And that's about it.
Because you signed what was called a bonus contract back then, where you got a certain amount of money and they had to keep you on the Major League roster for a couple of years?
That's correct. You not only were on the 40-man roster, you're on the 25, which is the 25 They control 40 players, 25 during the season. And because I received over a $6,000 bonus, I had to stay with the parent team, which was the New York Giants. And I sat there 2 years. Didn't play very much, played very little. But I watched and listened and kind of got an idea of what my skills were. I knew what they were and what it would take for me to play in the major leagues. So when I was sent to the minor leagues in 1956, having that in my mind, I practiced on it, and after 4 years, the proudest thing I've done, and whatever I've done in this game of baseball, was to start at the top because of a rule, and then go to the minor league. Most should have started, but the rules prevented that. And then to work back in 4 years to go to the major leagues and stay around there for a number of years. And again, I just had a great time.
What was Leo like as a manager?
Leo, as a manager, as a player, well, I never got to play. It was tough, fair. He did not like mental mistakes. Physical mistakes he would tolerate, not to a great deal, but he was a very strategist, very good. And I ended up coaching for him. And here's a fellow that was frightened of, scared of, all of the above for 2 years in New York. And then I came back and played for him a little bit in 1966 when he became the manager of the Cubs. And then he wanted me to coach for him, and I had a nice run, because from that point I had some wonderful years.
What was it like playing in the Polo Grounds?
Well, the Polo Grounds was, if you looked over the top of it from an airplane or a copter, it was built in a horseshoe shape. And down the lines, it was short, but it deepened into dead center field, which Willie Mays in 1954 World Series against Cleveland made this catch that we still see every World Series in the highlights preceding the game. And it was a different park, and I think it created guys to probably swing different there because of the short fences and wanting to hit home runs. Spacious in the outfield. I'm talking dead center field. It was a long ways, but I'm probably just doing the best I can. That's the way it was. Yeah, the bullpens were in left center, right center, in fair territory, if you want to believe that. that's there. Mays made some great. Mays was the greatest player I've ever seen, and fortunately, I got to play with him. He made some spectacular catches in that ballpark.
You had a great seat for that World Series, like you said. I mean, it's your rookie year. You watch Mays make that catch, and you get a World Series ring. That'd be a dream come true for a young man back then.
Well, I was the bullpen catcher because, I helped out. That's what we wanted me to do. That game, I was in the bullpen in right center field, and when the ball came off Vic Wirtz's bat, and his Willie tracked it. For me, he slowed his body down, which indicated to me he had it. And Willie always had that customary tap of his glove, and when he tapped that means you were out, and he tapped that glove. And the amazing thing about it, he caught it and spun around and threw the ball into second base. It was one hop, but there's a great picture of him on the ground with his hat off, like he was doing push-ups, caught the ball with his back to the infield, and then planted his right foot, spun around, and fired at second base to keep the double play in order. It was a great catch. Well, like I said, that's shown every year since I've been watching World Series play. And then I occasionally get fan mail, or I'll have a picture of that. I got to witness that and several other famous days in the game of baseball, and I've been put. I've only said that 3 times. Now I've had a nice life.
No, you did, and then you got to go into coaching. Did you always know you wanted to be a coach?
I think being around the players that I was there watching 1954, 55, on that team, there were about 4 guys, I think, that became big league managers, actually, and the way that they played the game and used to talk about the game, I think so, yeah. And then when I got towards the end of my playing career, I was fortunate again to be in the right spot at the right time, because Leo had gone over the Cubs, and in 1966, and that was my last year of playing, and he offered me this job, and I didn't ran with it, and it's treated me very well. But I have believed in myself that I had started studying the game early. I had my skills as a player weren't the best in the world, and not the poorest, but I realized what I had to do to be a major leaguer. So when I went to the minor leagues, I practiced that. I disciplined myself. And I kind of played smart, I think. That's enough about me, but anyway, I've had a nice time.
No, you've had a great time. I mean, I remember as an 8-year-old watching you manage the Cubs in '79 here with my favorite player, Dave Kingman, and you had Bruce Sutter, but you didn't have much else when you're managing the Cubs.
Well, the Cubs at that time were in addition, and those players you just mentioned, Sutter ended up in the Hall of Fame, and rightly so. And Kingman was a power hitter, tremendous power. I think 400 plus home runs, but they were in transition. Then the ownership changed, and they went in a different. Not to say that the direction we were headed. I think if we would have stayed over there, got to see it, because the players that we had at that time, I feel that the majority of them were learning how to play big league baseball and they all do. Minor leagues, the biggest jumps, David, from amateur baseball to being a professional, and then I really believe from AAA to the major leagues. That's the next biggest jump. And sometimes you go, not sometimes, when you do come from AAA to major leagues, the majority of them have to learn how to play that major league baseball. And I think that what helped me was going from AAA to the major leagues, that I had witnessed it for 2 years. So I had an idea, which I said earlier in this interview, that I had to do. And I wasn't going to be a player that like a maze or a star that they carry the whole team on their back. I was just a little piece of the 25 pieces that are on that team, and I realized that. So I had to play. I had to play smart.
Then you joined my favorite team besides the Cubs with the Dodgers as a third base coach. How did you and Tommy get together?
Well, I guess I guess he was to watch me coach third base when I was with the Cubs, and then the position came open there. They asked me to come on board. Actually, the fellow that wanted me over there was Al Campanis and Tommy both. I got a call from him, and they were going to make a change, and he asked if I was interested. I definitely was interested, and thank God I got the job, and I stayed there 17 years, coaching third base. Probably some of the best times of my baseball life, being from San Pedro, which is a port of Los Angeles, it's about 25 miles from the stadium, and my family and my friends there grew up there, and to come back there to that environment, that was kind of special for me. Again, that was really a good time. And Vero Beach, Dodger Town, David, there's nothing better than Dodger Town when it comes to spring. All these facilities, which today the Cubs have an outstanding facility. I mean, it's beautiful. The facilities there are just great. But Dodger Town had a charisma about it. There was a lot of togetherness there. I felt that the stability of the owner and that place carried through to the whole system. That's my belief.
I mean, it was great being a part of that organization because, I mean, if you were a part of it, you were. I mean, they had Walter Alston and then Tommy Lasorda. I mean, they didn't go through managers or coaches. You were part of that family.
Well, exactly right. That's what Peter O'Malley, who was the stability of that place, he made it family. That's very important. Where I am now with the Giants, it's the same thing with Brian Sabian and now Bobby Evans, but over there, along with Brian Sabian's leadership, has made that way. It's very important. Everybody get on the same end of the rope and pull on it. That's part of the success of the Giants. A great deal of success. The players on that team, being with them this passing, they really do pull for one another. But the only family and the Dodgers was unique. It's single ownership. I worked for single ownership in Chicago with the Wrigley family, great people, and Mr. Stoneham in San Francisco, single ownership, and then the O'Malleys. And that's not too common today. It is in place, but not as it was when I first started. But to experience that, it was special. It was special.
Being with Tommy Lasorda would be great too, because from hearing from the former players and coaches, you guys had the best food in the clubhouse, and going out to dinner with Tommy on the road, you never had to pay for a meal.
Well, I don't know where you're getting your information, but part of that is true. But Tommy, yeah, he enjoys food. He enjoys being with people. I don't think Tommy, in my time, didn't get enough credit for his moves during a game. Tommy was a personality, and he was a person that when he came into a city, media and everybody wanted to talk because he almost the face of the franchise. Follow me?
Oh, he
Whereas
is.
usually it's the player, but Tommy was the star. And but the reason he and I got along so well, not because we're both Italian, but it's because, like I said to him, I didn't want his job and he didn't want mine. So that made it real good. You follow what I'm saying to me? There was no threat. He often told me in private when we would talk, two of us in his office, that he appreciated my loyalty and my honesty, which meant a lot to me. Follow me?
No,
Meant a
exactly.
lot to me. Because you know what? Let me tell you something. When you trust somebody, you're going to be yourself. You just think of that. And even your listeners, whoever's listening to this thing, trust someone, you're going to be yourself. Unfortunately, in this world, I don't think there's a whole lot of fun right now. But anyway, that's my own philosophy.
No, you're absolutely right. The other thing, you mentioned the Willie Mays catch in the 54 World Series. You're also part of another famous moment with Kirk Gibson with that home run.
Yeah. Kirk, that's a nightmare, but we don't have that much more time. Anyway, Kirk
Nope.
Gibson, the scouting report on Oakland was given the day before we opened the World Series in 1988, and we had there were three scouts that were on them for about 6 weeks, and LDDA being one of them, Jerry Stevenson, and Steve Boros. And when we had the meeting, Tommy figured we'd have the meeting not the day of the game, but the day before, because the players were a little bit relaxed and maybe they would retain what we were saying, because there's a lot of excitement and nervousness in there. Follow me? Even though you played
Right.
160 games or whatever. If you don't get excited and nervous starting a game, then you're dead, in my opinion. You gotta. A perfect example of that is Hunter Pence with us. There's not a guy. I've never seen a guy play with the energy and enthusiasm that he plays with. There's guys that do it, but he shows it. Anyway, he truly, truly has a for the game. So now, at the end of the meeting, Tommy asked the scouts, "Have you got anything to add to the?" Because we went over every player, the pluses and minuses of the position players, the pitcher's best pitch, what pitch he liked to go to in a certain spot, and all that stuff that goes into it. And Mel DDA said, well, if the game is on the line and Eckersley is the pitcher and you're a left-hand hitter and you have 3 and 2 on you, he's going to throw you a backdoor slider. Well, that's exactly what happened. Gibson came up and hit. There was 3 and 1 on him, and Mike Davis, Tommy had him steal, and they didn't throw, and Gibson was in there. It was a call strike, which made it 3 and 2, and Gibson was in the box, got out of the box, and I know standing down at third, I was going, come on, get in there, let's see where we are. And the score at that time, we were 1 run down, and he got out of the box, got back in there, got on his front foot, kept his hand in his bat back, flipped it, home run. Canseco, I watched him, and he took like 2 steps back in right field and Dodger hit him, and his body language told me that the ball was out of the ballpark, which made us a winner.
Exactly.
And we went on and won in 5 games. Great moment in my non-playing career.
How many World
One I
Series?
will never, ever forget. And when Gibson came around third base, I customarily would shake your hand and pat you on the back. I was excited. I patted him once. He was hobbling because he had a bad leg. I patted him twice. I was just about to let him go, and I'm hobbling with him. And he says, backdoor slider, Joe. I really got excited. I really hit him in the back. Then I went upstairs. That was it.
How many rings do you have?
My wife, Kate, tells me that those fans stood out there for 40 minutes on the feet applauding. In fact, I found out the next day that he had to go back outside to acknowledge it.
How many rings do you?
Yeah, that's a great non-playing story for me, boy. That was one. I'll never forget that. And I get to see that too. There's sometimes in the series prior to the first game, they'll show this stuff: Mays' catch, Gibson's home run, but they don't always show him coming around third. I guess the commercial aspect of it. But every once in a while, I'll see myself, and when I do, I call out from my way and say, "Come out here and look at me. I'm in shape here."
How many rings do you have now? You got one from '54. You got one from the '88 World Series. Do you have 3 from the Giants too?
5, yeah.
5.
5, yeah. And I think of, God bless his soul, Ernie Banks. Now, didn't have one, some great players that don't have any. And I said it earlier that I've been blessed here. There's no doubt in my mind, I have been blessed.
I just wish you could have brought one to Chicago.
Oh, well, listen, I got to spend a little time with Joe Madden this spring, and I hope something good happens there. I really, truly do. I know I work for the Giants, and we've been good. They've been good. They have been good. What they have accomplished, it is good. And I hope Joe someday gets to experience that in that city, that team. I told him that. And it's, let me, a couple more minutes. The greatest thing for me about Wrigley Field is I didn't do this when I worked there as a coach or that little bit I managed or when I played. But when I became a coach with the Dodgers, I'd go there real early. I would take the trout, and I'd have myself a little breakfast over there in Sheffield. And then I'd go in, chart the previous game on a book. Now there's technology, you don't have to bet. And I'd get a cup of coffee, I'd get the paper, I'd go down in the dugout, and I mean, I'm talking about early, okay? There isn't anybody in that place. And all of a sudden, started the activity with the ground crew, getting it ready for pregame practice. They down on the left field corner over there, getting their instructions. And then the players starting to drift out. And one time I remember very early, Harry, Kay, and Vince Scully were taping. Harry was interviewing Vinny right in front of the Wizards dugout, and they were taping it. And then at 20 or 1:30, the first pitch, it went from one person to 30-something thousand plus. You know what? It's like seeing something or created in front of you. And I shared that with Joe. I told Joe, I said, when you get a chance, try to live that. It's special. It was special for me. Okay.
No, it is.
Wrigley Field is really a beautiful place.
No.
Coaching third base was a lot of fun because the fans are right on top of you. they can show their pleasure or displeasure. And fortunately enough, when I worked there every day, I was blessed where I didn't get criticized too much.